today we're talking about what the fear of not doing enough in your business really means. I had this client who she just never really knew when enough was enough. Like, she would be working and doing all the things and she would be like, I just don't know if what I'm doing is enough. Like, I don't know if it's enough to get me like what I want. And she was like, I also feel like if I keep going at the rate that I'm going to burn out because I'm exhausted and I constantly feel like I'm falling short of all the things that I need to be doing. And some of the stuff just isn't getting done because I'm feeling burnt out and exhausted and resentful. And I asked her, I was like, okay, well, like, what things are you doing that you don't want to be doing? And like, could you potentially get these things off of your plate? And what would that look like? And so she was like, I hadn't even thought of that. And I was like, well, yeah, like, there's so much pressure put on us to like be solopreneurs or like to run the show by yourself or be able to do everything. And the thing is like, there is no award in business for being able to do everything. And the fact is as your business grows, you shouldn't really be trying to do everything anyways, because the money that comes in from your business comes in from you doing specific tasks. But then there's also other tasks that need to be done in your business that need to get done ongoing so that your business can keep running. And the thing is we think that we need to do all of these things by ourselves, but we really don't. And so I was asking her, I was like, well, why don't you hire someone to do the things that you don't want to do? And when she finally was able to hire a VA and like outsource those things that she really felt was draining her or was burning her out, then she was able to actually be more effective in the things that were making her money, and she was able to rest, she was able to be more creative and come up with better ways to serve her clients. But this fear that we're not doing enough in our business, it really stems from like us not feeling like we're enough, because when you know that you're enough, you know that you deserve to rest, you know that you get to be supported, you know that like you don't need to be doing all the things in order to prove that you're worthy and deserving of having the business that you want to have. And also, we kind of like, the human brain loves to finish things. It loves to like tick things off a list and like see when those things are finished. But the thing is when you have a business, you're gonna have a to-do list that is never going to be finished. There is always going to be things, because a business is basically a project that never ends. And so when we kind of tell ourselves like, when I finish all these things, then I'll rest, or like, I know that I've done enough because of X, Y, and Z, then you're not really looking at the way that you run your business like through the lens of a way to be able to do it with continuity and like ongoingness. Because the thing is knowing that you have to be okay with not everything getting done. And sometimes when you look at this, we start to make it mean something that it doesn't actually mean. We start judging ourselves for being like, oh, well, this person has those results, so they must be doing more, so that means that I need to do more. But this actually isn't true. It's like, it's less about trying to do all the things and more trying to be effective in the things that are your zone of genius, the things that make you money, and focusing on the things that really do end up moving the needle forward, and knowing that you get to be supported and have someone help you in doing the things that you don't necessarily like doing. And this is a big one for a lot of like new business owners or like new coaches that I see them doing. They're like, I want to know how to do everything because then like, it's just interesting to me. I want to be good at everything. And it's like, okay, well, it's great to be interested in things. It's great to want to do all the things, but by you not wanting to give up control of certain aspects of your business, you're actually on your road to burnout. And when you burn out, like, are you even going to have a business at the end of this? But we have this feeling of like, where we need to control it, it needs to be a certain way. And then when we're not able to give up that control and allow ourselves to be supported, we really put ourselves on this path to just burning out really quickly, because not everything is going to be in your zone of genius. Not everything is going to be something that you're a master at, and you shouldn't have to be a master at everything it takes to run a business. You just need to be really good at doing your thing well. And so then when you know that you're good enough doing things exactly the way you are, or just good enough being who you are, you don't need to be good at everything to prove that you're worthy of like having a business, then you're able to like let things go and allow them to be done by someone else, and allow them to be done at a level that's good enough. Because when we're stuck in like it basically is like that perfectionism creeping in again, where it's like, is it enough? Is it enough? Is what I'm doing enough? Is it to like a high enough standard? Like, is it going to get me the results that I want? This is basically perfectionism and fear creeping in. It's like this fear that like what we're doing isn't good enough, so that would mean that we're not good enough, which is just not true. And the funny thing is when you start deciding in the moment that you are good enough and that the work that you produce is enough and it's enough to move you forward, then other people reflect that back to you. So if you get stuck in like this feeling of always wondering, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? It's like the wrong question to be asking ourselves. Like, we always want to be asking ourselves better questions. And so it's like, instead of being like, is what I'm doing enough, knowing that like, if you're listening to your intuition and doing those like things that really move the needle forward, then it is enough. Because it's like, at the end of the day, if you look at it, what actually is enough? Like, how much work would you have to do for you to check off a list and be like, oh, it is enough, I have everything I've done is enough? So you really need to look at like, what are you measuring this by? Like, when you say, is what I'm doing enough, like, what standard are you measuring to? What is the goal that you're trying to accomplish? And this is when it can be really helpful to bring in like SMART goals. And SMART goals basically is an acronym that teaches us to make your goals specific, make it measurable, make it achievable, like something that seems relatively realistic in the time frame that you've set it within. You want it to be realistic and relevant to like what you're trying to create. It's hard to think of these off the top of my head. So it's like specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Sorry, I just like had a little moment there. And time bound is like you're setting a time frame for allowing this to happen in. And so then when you have set the goal for yourself and you're specific about what the goal is, then that's how you can start to tell like what you're doing is enough. Because when you do the work on yourself and you realize that you are worthy, you are enough exactly the way that you are. And so basically you can set the goals for yourself and then choose activities daily to move towards those goals. And then that's at the point where you're deciding like, okay, this is enough. Because when we come to running a business, we have to realize that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like, there is no rewards for like doing the most in the fastest amount of time if you're just going to burn out on your business a little bit later. So you really need to decide like, you are worthy, you are good enough, and everything that you're doing is enough to get you to where you want to go, and choose beliefs that support you in that. And also decide that you get to be supported by other people instead of trying to do this whole thing alone and just burning out and becoming resentful on your business. Like, getting support, hiring a VA. Like, I know initially in your business, people can be like, oh my God, like, I can't afford to hire a VA. And the thing is you can hire VAs for like $5 an hour. And so if you're choosing not to be supported so that you can have your business continue going because you think that because you've done a task that somehow makes you more worthy, like, your business is going to have a very short expiration date, because there's no rewards for the person who can do the most. It's like, how can you be most effective and how can you delegate and outsource things that you don't need to be doing, because you don't need to do everything to prove that you're worthy of having the success that you want, and you're not going to find worthiness in that. Like, we don't find our self-worth through accomplishing the most or doing the most or being the most tired or working the hardest. Like, if working hard is the only competitive edge that you bring to your business, like, you are immediately going to be outstripped by someone who either is willing to work harder than you or they can hire more people. So this needs to stop being your competitive advantage of doing the most work. It's like that, like how they say, it's like, work smarter, not harder. Like, the more you work hard, like, it's really interesting because the way that we're taught to show up and work in a business is, or work in like a job, is like the person who works the most hours, because when you work more hours you make more money. But that's not the case when you run a business, because your time is not being exchanged for dollars anymore. You're charging by the transformation, or charging by the transformation of your product. So we need to move away from this idea of like, working more and working harder is going to make me more money, because it's not the case when you run a business. And that's not how you should be defining your worth. A lot of the time we will create create a product and we'll be like, oh, well, I worked this many hours, then I should be charging this much. But that's not the case. You charge by the transformation that you're giving people. So it's like moving away from this concept of exchanging time for dollars and knowing that the work, like the amount you charge comes from the transformation. So hopefully this has allowed you to sort of see differently why having the fear that you're not doing enough in your business is really, it's not serving you. And if this is something you're struggling with and you're feeling like you're not worthy of the success that you want, or you really do feel like you need to be doing all the things, and if you're not, then you're somehow failing or getting it wrong, I can definitely help you overcome this by releasing those like worthiness issues within 21 days. So if you have any questions about this, reach out, send me a DM, and I'm happy to chat about it with you. So I hope you have an incredible day, and I will talk to you soon.